welcome to Lesson 7 of our free computer repair and general use training program. Remember, if you're watching this video out on YouTube or Vimeo or Vidler or something, you can always go over to BeYourOwnIT.com and sign up for our free training program on the right, and you'll get weekly tips and advice and access to our forum and all sorts of great stuff all for free. So in Lesson 7 we talk specifically about the computer's power supply. It's often overlooked, and it's actually pretty darn important. You can spend anywhere between $40 and $400 pretty easily on a power supply, but the reason it's not often talked about is we can probably apply the 80-20 rule here, and that is, for 80% of the people, whatever comes with their computer, whether it's a 400 or a 450 watt or whatever, it's just fine. But there's that 20% of people that they do upgrades, or they require a little bit more juice to run their system. And this lesson is just about understanding the difference. So if you're a gamer, odds are you're going to want a high-end video card, something 550, 600, 700 watt. They keep going up and up as video cards get bigger and bigger. It's important because the computer will run on less than optimal power, but you'll have all sorts of problems. So the rule of thumb, I usually will say, whatever your computer requires, I would try to get 50 to 100 watts more than that, because most power supplies are, for example, 80% efficient, 90% efficient. So if you get exactly what your computer needs, you're never going to actually have exactly what you need. So, if you're somebody who's a pack rat or an upgrader as well, you have multiple hard drives or multiple ROM drives, typically most systems are fine with what's in there if you just throw in an extra. I'm not saying you need to upgrade your power supply if you just throw in an extra CD-ROM. But if you have, 3 hard drives and 2 CD-ROMs on your original power supply, it might be worth a $50 investment just to bump it up a little bit and make sure everything's getting properly powered. There are a lot of reasons that you can find yourself in a situation where you're going to need a bump in power supply, whether it's, upgrades, or, you upgrade your processor, your video card, your motherboard. It's just important to remember that every time you add something to your computer, it's making it a little less efficient. Odds are if you bought it, if it's out of the box, they're not going to give you anything extra. Okay, so if your computer needs a 300 watt power supply, that's what you're going to get. And if nowadays a lot of people are getting more comfortable with upgrading their computers, putting in new video cards and things like that, it's just important to understand not to forget about the power supply. And what it really does, all the power supply really does, is convert the AC current from your wall down to DC current, which your computer needs inside. But it is important to understand the capacities. You can actually add up what your components need if you want to get really technical. But odds are, if you just look at something like your video card requirements, things like that, they'll say right on the box, this requires a 550 watt power supply. And then, like I said, try to use the rule of thumb where you get 50 to 100 watts more than that, because most things aren't 100% efficient. So that's Lesson 7 on power supplies.